Good afternoon, everyone. It's your favorite Gen 1 coming at you today. Something a little bit different. A little bit of a update to where the car's been and what's going on. Currently, this is the car's state that it sits in. It's been like this for going on 6 to 8 months or so. It's been broke down for about a year, but it's been tore down to this part for about 6 to 8 months. Let me show you what happened, what caused me to tear it down. That's the reason right there. I suspect I had a heat issue on this number 8 cylinder. It caused the ring lands to break and just take me out of commission for a bit. Caused a slight bit of damage to the cylinder head, but NPR was able to get it fixed up, replaced a couple of valves. There's no damage to the chambers or anything like that. Someone actually purchased the cylinder heads and has it going on a pretty badass combo. Interested to see what they do with it. But that's what took me out. Easy fix, really just needs a piston, some rings. Everything else is good, cylinder wall is good. All the other cylinders are good. I just suspect something between the whole 3-2-1 deal, or basically 3-2, Gen 3 bottom end, Gen 2 head, and the cooling passages may have caused a heat issue back here. Gen 3s have a cooling port on the head gaskets here. Same thing with the GT500 that the Gen 2 heads, that the head gasket doesn't have. It's in the heads, but not in the gasket. So I think there may have been a cooling issue. So either updated head gaskets like the GT500 head gaskets, or maybe a head cooling mod would have helped out here. Don't know, got something else going on, and let's get to those details. All right, so now for details on the new build. Originally, I was gonna use a Gen 1 5.2 liter Voodoo block from a 2016 Shelby, where I purchased a complete long block out of a GT350, obviously, but it was a warranty return that Ford sells off after so many years. Got a killer deal on it. It was a running engine that had been turned in for oil consumption, and the number 4 cylinder liner, that plasma wire transfer deal, after tearing it down, looks like a piece of it had broken off, and that's what caused some of the oil consumption issues, I assume. Well, after waiting for parts to start the assembly on that, the block's still to be sleeved, but waiting for bearings and ARP hardware, so on and so forth, the back order was really holding me up. And originally I have NPR do all my machine work. I do all of the blueprinting and assembly, but I was at the mercy of the parts manufacturers holding everything up, in between king bearings, even Cleveite, especially ARP. ARP is the worst. Comp Cams continues to hold everyone up. So I didn't really get to continue through with my relationship with NPR on this build, but I will in the future. So I saw RPG out in California. They put up a post about they can get a complete short block out in about 8 weeks. So I contacted them, spoke about the timeline with that. They said they had everything available. Their engines use slightly different bearings with the stroker crank that engine's going to be using. It's going to be a 5.5 liter using a 5.2 Predator block. Billet I-beams, custom pistons. Going to be 14-to-1 compression, one of those deals that they advertised some time ago. So they're doing the bottom end. That's going to be delivered here this week. This week is week 9, but it's finishing up the QC process, and then we'll be shipping out probably by Tuesday or Wednesday. Today's currently Sunday. Brett Barber has my Voodoo heads using the stock valves, but it has his whole competition porting and valve job. Uses the dual Ferrea valve springs, because it's going to have some pretty nasty camshafts that he spec'd out. So comp is holding up that part, but the cams are, again, pretty nasty, about 600-inch lift and over 250 degrees of duration. so this thing will spin some RPM. So waiting on that stuff to get the long block completed. In the meantime, I have this to work on, some of the induction pieces. Real quick before we get over to the induction side of the new engine build, just wanted to make note of a few things for some of the people that like to call this car a tin can. If you notice, the car still has heat, still has AC, still has factory power rack, even still has all the factory heat shielding underneath the car. Those are just the two on the firewall transition, but still all underneath the car, as well as all of the plastic shields that go over the brake lines and over the evap lines that are no longer there. And we'll also move over to the interior. Now we'll move on to the interior. You'll see that obviously no passenger seat. It does have a rear seat delete in it, but it's not empty. It still has all the interior panels, all the insulation is still back behind there. It has a Corbo seat, which is light, but it's no Kirky. Still everything up here. So hardly tin can. It is light, but it's hardly a tin can. Just spent a lot of money on lightweight stuff. I would also show the trunk, but I don't have a battery in the car. I don't feel like crawling in here and pulling down the rear seat delete, but everything is still back there too. I can cut in a different video to show that, but it's all still there. Come down here to my shelf. I've got a Barber competition ported Cobra Jet. Bought it off a friend and got a good deal on it. His car was involved in an accident, and he was going to turn the car in to insurance, so he pulled some of this stuff off. After I picked this up from him, I noticed that the lid, where it was epoxied after it was cut open and imported, it had cracked, I guess from the impact of the accident. So I took it apart, cleaned it up. I'm gonna take off all this Rhino liner paint that they use to cover up the epoxy and everything like that. I'm gonna add approximately a 1-inch bit there for additional plenum volume. I'm gonna kind of copy that Beluga Boss manifold that RPM did some time ago. I'm gonna do the same thing with the Cobra Jet here and see if it's gonna have any benefit. I assume it will, because with the cubic inches and the head flow and camshaft, that this engine's gonna need some plenum volume to help it breathe. So I think it should work pretty good. Still gonna use the standard Ford Racing monoblade throttle body with this. So as we come back over here, basically my job for today, I'm gonna work on replacing some of the replacement parts. I've got this BMR radiator support. I'm gonna replace that with the Billet Pro Shop radiator support. Knock off a few pounds there. I have a few other things that I'm gonna be replacing. I got the rear control arms out back, the lower rear control arms. Gonna replace those with some Keltrack aluminum lowers. I've already replaced the rear BMR springs with the Keltrack lightweight coil springs. And I got a few more odds and ends to take care of. Other than that, the car's pretty much ready to go. I have some other maintenance things. I'm gonna new brake pads for the wood brakes, clean up the rotors and stuff, because again, the car's been sitting for a little bit. So I'm gonna get those cleaned up, new brake pads. Fluid should be okay. I flushed the fluid not even a year ago, just before I took the car down, when I redid all the brake lines and everything here to get rid of ABS. So I did a whole fluid flush while I was in there doing that. That's why you kind of see all that spray paint back there. Some of the brake fluid came down from the master cylinder and brake fluid on paint is not a good combo. So I had to clean it up and just want to get it covered so it wouldn't corrode or anything. So cleaned it up, some self-etching primer, and a can of some ceramic paint just for now. I'll clean that up some other time and actually get some color match paint and do the whole engine bay and stuff. But this is a fast car. It's supposed to be fast, not really a show car. So I'm not too concerned about it. You can't really see once you get the huge heads on it and everything. So yeah, the new combo 5.5 liter stroker, Porta GT350s, big cams, big Cobra Jet. Brett Barber and the guys over at RPG think that it's going to make some pretty big power with its compression. Should be around 14-to-1. So we'll see. I've got high expectations, but I'm also trying to stay tempered. It's not something that many people have played with yet, so I don't want to let myself down if it doesn't make a bajillion horsepower. It is naturally aspirated after all. So anyways, that's what I got for you today. Something a little bit different, and hopefully be bringing you some more footage within the next few months once everything starts rolling in here and I can get it assembled and back on the street. Anyways, if you have any questions, just shoot in the comments. Try to answer them. Other than that, signing out. Have a good one.